Hello and welcome to another Checkmate Pattern Recognition video. So in this series I had been doing checkmates in 2, and I bumped it up to a high level in the last video. I think it was like 2,000 to 3,000 rated. But because it was only checkmate in 2, hopefully you could figure those out. So now I lowered the rating to 500 to 1,000 to start with, and if it's too easy, I'll bump it up in future videos. But these are mate in 3 plus. So pause the video at any time if you need to think longer. If not, solve the puzzles along with me. So here we go. We have a rook that just backed up here, attacking our queen. So with black to move, how can black go after the king? Now, when you're trying to checkmate, of course, you want to look at all possible checks first as they're most forcing. And it looks like there's only one way to check here. And that would be if we capture, but then the rook would recapture and block the back rank. So just because you can check, that's not always the best move. Sometimes, usually you should check and make sure you have a good follow-up. So maybe we need to do something else to weaken this back rank. So what do you think we should do? Maybe we have a better queen move. So, pause if you need more time to think. If not, I'm thinking that we could probably take this rook. So if we grab this rook on f2, we're threatening a back rank mate by capturing the other rook. If they don't capture us, if they do capture us, we also have this rook that can shoot up here to the back rank, and if they captured our queen, they'll have to block, and we can just capture with a mate on the back rank. So capture, check, and mate on the back rank. So back rank mate patterns definitely worth taking a look at and practicing those, because they're some of the more common checkmate patterns. And I've mentioned this before in other videos. If you're new to these videos, you can definitely improve your chess by playing through a set of puzzles. I'll try and do 10 today. And then go back through those puzzles. If you just look at them once, you'll probably forget what you saw. But if you go through them multiple times, that'll help them, those patterns, to be better cemented into your long-term memory, and then you can use them in the future. All right, next one. We have a rook up here to d3, where it is protected by the queen. What can we do? All right. Well, as always, look at those checks first. Looks like our only piece that can check is the queen, which could go here and be captured by the rook. Here it would be captured by, the rook here would capture us, the bishop would capture us here. If we captured the knight, then the rook would capture us. So that back rank looks like it's pretty much taken care of. What other check do we have? Well, hopefully you found the other check with the queen, and that will probably allow us to win. So I'm thinking if we capture here with check, the king will be forced into the corner. And then we can move here to the back rank, attacking the king. And the only thing possible here is for the bishop to block, and then we can just capture the bishop with a mate. So hopefully you found that. Try and go over it in your head if you didn't catch all that. And if you're ready, here we go. So capture with check. Now we have a threat on the back rank by going here, bishop blocks and the back rank mate because we were cutting off the king from going to g2, of course. All right, on to the next problem. Our knight is under attack by the pawn. What can we do here? All right. Well, as always, look for those checks first, and hopefully that will help you solve this. And it may not always be a checking move that starts off the attack, but you want to look at those first because they are the most forcing. The king has to deal with your check in one of three ways: capture the attacker, block the attacker, or run from the attacker. So, how can we check? It looks like the only move is to attack here with the queen checking. And if the king moves, well, then our queen could land here on f7 and deliver a mate. And if the king blocks, we can just capture and renew that attack. So I think that should work. So capture, block, check, and then we just deliver a mate. And this is a good pattern to know here. Whenever the king a queen attacks the king from one of these side squares around the king, the queen will attack through the center. On both of these corners, the queen attacks, and also these squares to the left and right of the king. The only thing not covered are the opposite corners here and here, and of course black has their own pieces on those corners preventing the king from running, and the knight is protecting our queen. So a great pattern here to definitely be aware of. All right, on to the next problem. We have the king pressing forward, gaining the opposition against our king. So now what can we do? What checks do we have? Well, our pawn cannot move up here because of the pin by this rook. So that leaves us with the queen. And maybe there's only one way to check with that queen. So if we go here, that's the only move. But do we have a good follow-up after that? So the king would be forced to go here. And then I think we could come down to here and deliver a check, forcing the king. And we're going to see some good patterns here as well once I actually play these moves out. So if our queen goes here, the king would have to move again to here, and then we could deliver a checkmate here on g4. So hopefully you were able to figure that out. Pause the video if you want to take a look at it before I actually show you the moves. So here we go. Queen is going to check. So check, the king starts running. And now we have an interesting pattern. We're going to go here and attack the king from a corner square. Okay, and then we're going to do that again. But this time we have the mate. And this is a very good pattern to know. When you attack the king on one of these corner squares here, make sure your queen is protected. But if you attack the king with the queen, you'll attack through the center. You'll attack on both sides. And the only thing that you do not cover are these two squares here. And of course they have pieces there. So this is kind of like a shortcut to attacking the king with a queen if you know these type of patterns from the corner squares. You see how the queen's covering everything except for these opposite two side squares. And then, another pattern as in the previous puzzle is when you attack with the queen from the side, and it attacks this way and only does not cover the opposite corner squares here. All right, on to the next problem. We're almost halfway through here. So we just checked with a bishop. The king is trapped in the corner. Anytime the king is in a stalemated position, you have to look at checks to see if those deliver the mate. The only check we have appears to be this knight move here. But then the bishop will no longer be protected by our queen as it is at this moment. So the king would probably, the king would be forced to capture the bishop, and then we'll have a discovered attack. But we have to watch out because our queen is also under attack here. So let's take a better look at this. Make sure we have a good follow-up after we check. So knight checks, forcing the king to capture the bishop. Now, if we move our knight and have a discovered check by this queen, it can be captured unless we have a double check. Whenever the king is being checked by two pieces at once, the king can only do one thing. It has to move because it can't block or capture both of those pieces at the same time. So, knight checks, king captures the bishop. Now, the only place to get a double check is to capture this rook, and then we would be checking with the knight and the queen at the same time. The king would have to run back up to h8 or h8 or g8, and I think our queen could then deliver the mate on h7 because of this rook that'll be guarding our knight. So I realize that's a lot of arrows here, but see if you can figure that out in your head. Pause if you need more time. If you're ready, here we go. So check, double discovered check by the queen and the knight at the same time, and then our queen can deliver the mate up here because of this rook. And as you notice here, there are three pieces working together to deliver that mate, and a lot of times that's what you need, three pieces or more. Now, not always. Sometimes if your opponent has pieces blocking their king in, you could even have a smothered mate with one knight maybe. All right, 5 more to go. Our queen is being attacked here by this knight, but it's our move. So look for those checks first, and the only check I see is a queen check. Now, can we afford to sacrifice our queen? So if we go here, the knight will be forced to capture the queen, and then we could just recapture with the rook, delivering a check. So what do we do after that? Well, the king would have to move. Let's see. And that's where it gets a little tricky. I think we have a good follow-up though, so let me remove these arrows and we'll take another look at this. So we sacrifice the queen. Because it's protected by the bishop, the knight will have to capture. Then the obvious move is to check again by capturing that knight with the rook here. The king can go left or right. If it goes into the corner, well then we have an immediate mate by bringing this knight up. So once again, capture, knight captures, rook captures with check. We saw that the king can't go into the corner, so the king would have to go here. And now we can deliver a double discovered check by sliding our rook over to here with check. The king would have to go back. That would give us time to bring the other rook over to check. The king would be forced into the corner unless a piece would block. I mean, I guess a bishop could block. And if that happens, do we have a good follow-up? And that's what is going to be the tricky part. So, and this is what's important when you're sacrificing a queen. You have to make sure that before you do it, you can see the possibilities to the end and that you're definitely winning. So once again, capture, knight captures, rook captures, forcing the king to here. Oh, and then the other rook can just check here. And bishop will block. We just capture that bishop. Queen will block. We just capture the queen. So a lot of arrows there. Hopefully you can figure all this out. So, as always, pause if you need more time. If not, queen sacrifice. We recapture, checking. Oh, and he just decides to go into the corner. So now we can just checkmate with the knight by going here. All right. Well, they didn't go out the other way. Where we would have had all the longer continuation. All right, 4 more to go. Let's keep this moving along. What do we have here? What checks do we have? Well, let's take a look. The king is really blocked in by his own pieces here. A wall of defensive pieces, but they can also smother the king if we can get a good check in. So we have queen check, bishop check, rook check. Which one looks better to you? A lot of times you want to, if you're attacking, you may want to attack with the weakest piece. So here if we attack with the bishop, the knight could capture, then queen recaptures, delivering a check. If the bishop blocks here, then we can just capture and we're backed up by this rook. And yeah, I guess that's the only way for our opponent to go. All right, so take a look at that. If you're ready, here we go. Check, check, and mate, backed up by the rook there. All right, 3 more to go. Here we go. Bishop has just captured, aiming at our king side along with this knight at this h2 pawn. Okay, great pattern here. I won a game in a chess tournament with a similar pattern to this, so that's why I recognize it pretty quickly here. And once again, this is a good reason to go over chess puzzles more than once to cement them into your memory. And I've seen these puzzles, in other puzzles on chess.com here with this same variation. So we want to look for checks first. And it looks like the only thing that can check the king is the queen by going here or here. Of course, if we go to the back rank, the queen will just capture our queen. So what we have to do is check by going to the other square, f7 here, and throw the king into the corner, or force the king into the corner here, and then we deliver the back rank mate, trading queens and mating with the rook here. So check, king is forced into the corner, and it no longer protects f8 here with the queen. So now we give up the queen temporarily, or just trade queens, and we have a back rank mate. So as I mentioned, back rank mate patterns definitely come in handy. So I recommend studying those whenever you can. All right, 2 more to go. We just had a capture here, but it is our turn. What should we do? Okay. And this may be similar to another pattern that I saw in a game that I played. So we notice the rook is controlling the open D file, preventing the king from running to the center. But we can't go here, or the king would just capture us. So we need to, kind of like the last problem, we need to drive that king into the corner. So, how do we do that? Hopefully you saw the bishop move here, checking, forcing the king in the corner, and then the rook can deliver the mate. And are there any moves that can block? Yes, they could block with the knight, but then we would just take that knight, renewing the attack. Now the pawn. So, that's a good example of double checking those in-between moves like that. Because if this rook happened to be here, I would have been in trouble after that pawn blocked. Or maybe not in trouble. Well, yeah, I guess I would be because they have all those 3 pawns there. But now we have the back rank mate. Okay, final problem. Oh, a tripling, 2 rooks and queen on the open D file, but then we are doing that ourselves on the open F file. So, this just continues the theme of the previous problem. So hopefully you'll know what to do here. Take a look at it. Pause if you need more time. If not, here we go. So we definitely have to take advantage of our tripled pieces on this open F file and deliver a check. But where? Here or here? Well, at the moment we have 3 defenders of the F1 square and 3 attackers. So we need to get rid of one of these by forcing the king into the corner once again. And then we can go here. So check, sacrifice the queen, and back rank mate here. Awesome pattern to end these 10 problems with. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed these. Please feel free to leave comments. I always enjoy hearing from viewers and subscribers. And if you haven't liked and subscribed already, please do so to support the channel. Thank you for watching and have a super chess day.